YouTube, how you doing? Murph here, bringing you a product comparison video. In today's video, we are going to be comparing the Ducky 1.2 Mini versus the brand new Ducky 1.3 Mini. This is not going to be a full in-depth review. I have already done in-depth reviews for both of these keyboards. I will put a link to those in the description if you're interested in viewing that. But this video is going to be mostly focused on the similarities and differences between these keyboards. And if you're on the fence about which one to go with, maybe helping you select one, as well as going over some of the upgrades that have been made to the 1.3 series board. Now let's start off with talking about the design. The Ducky 1.2 Mini is 302 millimeters long, 108 millimeters wide, and 40 millimeters tall, and this board comes in weighing 590 grams. Now the 1.3 Mini measures 310 millimeters long, 110 millimeters wide, and 40 millimeters tall, and it comes in weighing 593 grams. So technically, the 1.3 board is a little larger and just ever so slightly heavier. Realistically, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. Even side by side, these boards look almost the same size. In fact, I would argue on camera, the 1.3 board actually looks a little smaller than the 1.2, even though it's technically just a few millimeters longer and wider. And that's mainly because I think the main chassis of the board is actually a little bit more slim and streamlined. But as I'll show you in a moment, the beveled edges actually make it measure a little bit wider than it actually looks. Realistically though, for all intents and purposes, you're not going to notice a real size difference between either of these two keyboards. Now for the 1.2 Mini, it comes with a very basic rectangular case. It has pretty small bezels. It does have just a little bit of an almost sloped back end, but overall just a very basic case design. And you can contrast that with the 1.3 series that has a much more sleek and modern case design. You can see here on the side, the profile of the board is just much more streamlined. It features a lot of different lines and angles, some cutouts on the side here, and that all gives way to this beveled front and back edge. And everything just looks really clean and much more modern on this board. It just has a lot more styling to it than the 1.2 Mini. Another thing you'll notice about the design of these keyboards are the colors. The 1.2 Mini is available in white and black, whereas the 1.3 Mini, at least right now at time of release, is offered in this blue and kind of neon green colorway that's referred to as Daybreak, and then it's also available in yellow. And if you're interested in seeing that yellow model, that's the one that I actually did the review on. You can go view that video if you'd like, but much more bold color options. Now, the 1.3 Mini is going to be available in black and white as well, but that's probably quite a ways down the road. As I mentioned in the full review, I reached out to a Ducky representative and they mentioned that they are working on white and black models for this keyboard, but we're probably talking terms of months and not weeks. Those models are not going to be available for quite some time. Probably the second half of 2022 would be my guess. Both of these keyboards come with extra keycaps. There's a variety of extra colors that the white can come in. You can see here it came with the gray. Now the 1.3 series comes with extra keycaps as well. You can see I actually replaced the escape key with this round Ducky keycap that comes with it. But one of the big differences between the two will be the space bars. The 1.2 series boards always featured a Zodiac space bar, which frankly is one of my favorite aspects of Ducky keyboards, at least aesthetically. I really enjoyed the year of the whatever space bars, in this case it's year of the ox. It just gives the keyboard a nice design aesthetic. Also, being a company based out of Taiwan, it's really just cool how they implemented zodiac symbols into the keyboard, and it was a great way of keeping the keyboard fresh. Obviously, when you're releasing the same keyboard year after year after year, it can get a little old and stale. That was never really the case with the Ducky 1.2 series boards because every year they released a new custom spacebar. They are not doing that at release for the Ducky 1.3 series boards. I did have a Ducky representative tell me that Zodiac spacebars are coming, but they're coming with the white and black models. And as I said before, it could be months, maybe even, a year or so before we see those models. So that is one key design difference between these two boards. But they do both come with extra keycaps if you want to kind of style it differently, make it your own. Another design difference between these two is going to be in terms of the RGB. The 1-2 series boards, these keycaps have RGB shine through, whereas the 1-3 series boards do not. Both look fantastic, both RGB LEDs, very bright, vibrant, very easy to see. They're implemented a little bit differently with the shine through on the 1-2 series versus the 1-3 mini that relies on the bleed through of the RGB between the keys. Both look great though. Now, as far as build quality is concerned, both of these keyboards have really great build quality. Both of them are all plastic bodied cases, although the 1-2 series boards is available in a Mecha line which has an aluminum case. I'm sure at some point we'll see a Mecha version of the 1-3 mini, but both of the models I have here are plastic bodied cases. Neither of them have any kind of bending or flexing in the cases themselves. Both very strong and rigid. Both of these feature double shot PBT keycaps. One thing I will say though is for the 1-3 series boards, they really focused on a lot of different things, something that they refer to as quack mechanics, which I won't get into here. If you're interested in that, you can see the full review. But one of the things under quack mechanics that they focused on were the keycaps, and the keycap sizes between the two are marginally different. The 1-2 mini keycap is just slightly thinner than the 1-3 mini keycap. Now, is that going to make a huge difference in anything? Durability, certainly not. Acoustics, maybe a tiny bit. There's not enough of a size difference between the two really to even be that noteworthy, but it is something to keep in mind. Another difference between these two boards is the USB-C cable itself. On the 1-2 mini, it's more of a typical kind of cheaper plastic USB-C cable, whereas with the 1-3 mini, it's a braided USB-C cable, which is just gonna make it a little bit more durable. It's not gonna kink up on you. If you have to roll it up and throw it in a box, it's not gonna get a tear in it or anything like that. It's just a little bit more of a durable USB-C cable, something that's probably not gonna make a huge difference to most people, but that is something to keep in mind as a difference between the two. Both of these keyboards are offered in a wide variety of switches. However, the 1-2 mini is available in a ton of different switch options from Cherry to Gatoron, TTC. It's really widened the amount of switches that are available in this keyboard. It started off with just a handful of Cherry MX switch types and eventually widened out to what it is now. Whereas the 1-3 mini, at the moment anyways, is only available in a handful of Cherry MX switch types. But really that means a lot less for the 1-3 series board than you might think, and that is because of the main difference between these two, which is that the 1-3 mini has a Hotswap PCB. Now that's going to be great for a variety of reasons. One is because should you ever have a switch go bad in the 1-3 mini, you can just pull it out and throw a new one in, not a big deal. The 1-2 mini board is going to be much more difficult to repair. It's going to require some desoldering, and that's assuming you even have the know-how or the equipment to do that. So if you ever have to make a repair, fortunately the Cherry MX switches are very durable, and for both of these keyboards they feature the newer Cherry MX switches, which are rated for like 80 or 100 million clicks, something like that. So you're probably never going to have one go bad anyways, but if you do, it's going to be easier to repair in the 1-3 series boards. Two, if you want to do any kind of light modification to this keyboard, it's going to be a lot easier because you can actually pull these switches out and you can lube and or film them if you choose, whereas that wasn't really an option with the 1-2 minis. And then finally, the biggest perk here is if you want to try out different switches, it's extremely easy to do that. It comes with not only a keycap removal tool, but a switch removal tool as well, or you can use your own if you have one. And you can just pull these switches out and put in any other standard switch. And this isn't just a 3-pin PCB, but a 5-pin. So no clipping is going to be necessary if you have any 5-pin switches. Just throw them into this board and you're good to go. It gives you the ability to test out a lot of different switch types, or if you already know of a switch that you like, you can just swap those out very quickly and easily. Now I could continue talking about the differences between the two boards as far as specifications go, but it'll be easier to just kind of focus on the 1-3 series and the upgrades that were made because there's a lot of them. Besides the Hotswap PCB, the 1.3 series also features a thin layer of case foam in the bottom of the case. That's something we didn't see with the 1.2 series boards. So the 1.3 mini just has a little bit of extra foam in the bottom of the case, which is just going to take up some of that empty space and make everything sound a little less hollow. It also features PCB foam that's placed between the plate and the PCB that's going to reduce vibrations and just make everything sound a little bit better. The 1.3 Mini also features their V2 stabilizers, which is going to provide a little bit of a different feel, but it's also going to attribute to a little bit better acoustics as well. The stabilizers that they put in the Ducky 1.3 Mini are very, very good. I've got a full sound test video of many different switch types in the 1.3 Mini. That's in the main review if you want to take a look at that. I'm also going to be trying a lot of other switch types in this keyboard as well, and that's going to go, I have a specific section of my channel dedicated to like sound tests and ASMR videos. Over the next week or two, I'm going to be posting a bunch of different switches from this keyboard as well, if you want to keep an eye out for those. But this is going to be a really direct comparison because both of these keyboards feature Cherry MX Red switches. So I'm going to give you a quick sound test between the two. So you can hear, even with the same exact switches in these two boards, there's a pretty significant sound difference. As far as the alphanumeric keys are concerned, very similar sound profile, but the Ducky 1.2 Mini definitely sounds a little bit more hollow. And of course that's gonna be, case design kind of comes into effect here as well, to a lesser extent, but especially because of the PCB foam and the case foam in the 1.3 series boards, that makes it sound a little bit more muted, a little bit more authentic. The Cherry MX switches in this definitely sound a little bit more of what you would expect a Cherry MX Red switch to sound like, versus the 1.2 Mini still sounds very good, but definitely a little bit more hollow, and you can hear that in the board. Definitely a big sound difference. And then as far as the stabilizers are concerned, same thing. The stabilizers in the 1.2 Mini don't sound bad. It's just the 1.3 series stabilizers sound so good, especially for a stock keyboard. We're not talking, $500 custom keyboard, lubed, Band-Aid modded, the whole nine. This is just straight from the factory, and there's just such a deeper, richer sound to that space bar. Definitely a little bit more thockier, which is what most keyboard enthusiasts are chasing nowadays, versus the 1.2 Mini that just sounds much more hollow. So as far as the sound is concerned, a pretty significant difference. And if you've seen my review for this board, you'll know what I already think about the sound profile from this keyboard, which is that without any additional modification to any other board, just straight from the factory off the shelf, the Ducky 1.3 Mini is probably the best sounding stock keyboard that I've ever reviewed on this channel. It's just a great sounding board. No matter what switch you put in here, all of the ones I've tested so far, I've tested probably 10 different switches in here, and they all just sound very authentic, exactly what they're supposed to sound like. And the stabilizers, straight from the factory, I didn't add any additional lubrication. I didn't take the bars out and balance them or anything like that. Straight from the factory, the stabilizers sound great, in the 1.3 Mini. Now again, that doesn't mean I hate the 1.2 series boards either. The 1.2 Mini actually sounds very good, but it definitely does sound a little bit more hollow. Now outside of the fact the 1.3 series boards have Hotswap PCBs, probably the other biggest difference between the two is the price. The 1.2 Mini starts at $99 versus a $20 premium for the 1.3 Mini. This starts at $119, and the prices can go up another like 10 bucks or so depending on the switch option you choose. But ultimately, is the 1.3 Mini worth the $20 price increase? I would say absolutely. Between the fact that you are getting case foam, PCB foam, a Hotswap PCB, better acoustics, V2 stabilizers. There's just so many upgrades for this board compared to the 1.2 Mini. It's hard not to imagine wanting to spend the extra $20 to get those upgrades. So if you're looking to buy a 1.3 Mini or a 1.2 Mini, great keyboards. But if you're trying to choose between these two specifically and you don't know which one to get, I would say the only reason to get the 1.2 Mini over the 1.3 would be if you just need a more simple design aesthetic. You just need a white or a black keyboard and you don't really want to use a yellow or this blue and kind of neon green color in your setup. That might be a reason to go with the 1.2 Mini. Or if you really just can't go over $100, if $100 really just is your ceiling, the 1.2 Mini is a fantastic keyboard. But if you don't mind the color options for the 1.3 series boards, at least until the white and black finally come out, and you have the extra $20 to spend, I would say definitely go for the Ducky 1.3 Mini. With that being said, that wraps up this video. I hope you guys found it useful. If you did, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Also, if you would like to continue seeing other content like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you can be notified of when I post new content, and YouTube will catch you later.